Yes. No, I didn't do it. Oh God, really?
Really pleased to be here again at the IOSH Staffordshire branch evening, and especially because tonight's Work at Height. As we publish health and safety guidance, Work at Height is one of our most popular sections with the health and safety manual, which I brought along tonight. Along with the hard copy, we do CD-ROMs and our online version CIP Knowledge, which as IOSH members, you would get 20% off. So come and see me and hopefully have a look at your discount.
Good evening, my name is Chris Ely, I'm the Vice Chair of our Staffordshire branch, and I'm very privileged to be able to present in part to you tonight. Mark James is unfortunately taken away with work problems, so he's asked me to stand in, so I hope I'll be a half-decent replacement anyway. So his apologies for not coming on tonight anyway, but I hope you have a great evening. I'm just wondering, before we start, is there anybody that's new tonight that hasn't come on to this branch before? Brilliant. Good evening, guys. I'm responsible for some elements of the media side, mainly YouTube and LinkedIn. So it's really nice to know that hopefully we're encouraging people in through certainly those two ways of communication. So if you've come through our YouTube page, viewing that, or LinkedIn, fantastic, we'll continue to do that. So I'm really grateful for you guys coming along and supporting us tonight. So welcome to everybody else. So housekeeping, just a few notices. Of course, fire safety, we're not expecting a fire call or any sort of alarm test, but if you do need to get out, you go out to the quickest exits, which of course are here and here, the same way you've come in. Toilets and facilities, you probably use those, but the ladies is through that door, gents through that door. And if you could please keep your phones on silent or turned off. Of course, we're in a technological world now, and you need to access your phones for family and friends and stuff. If you need to, please go outside or just keep it on silent. That'd be appreciated. And feedback forms. Hopefully you've all got feedback forms tonight. We take huge pride in using the feedback forms, and what I mean by that is that the information that you put on there, and we ask that you're very honest with your feedback, is used on an event by event basis. So whether you found something very good, please tell us. If you found something bad or average, please tell us, because we really a lot of our success is through creating the very best opportunity for members. That is by listening to what you guys have got to say. So the feedback forms are analysed at every single committee meeting, every single month, and we do really enjoy looking at those to see what we're doing good and also what we can do better. So that's a really important part of the function of this branch, is to make sure we're making it the very best experience for you guys, and if there's anything that falls slightly short of what you would expect, and certainly what we would, we want to hear about it. So please fill those in for us. Thank you. Please return your badges at the end. Things do cost, and we do like to have the badges back, so if you can make sure they're given to Tina on the way out, we'd be very grateful. Unfortunately, we don't have that particular Wi-Fi this evening. There is an issue at this branch, at this venue this evening, but every other month it should be okay. So we're very proud, again, as a branch, we're the first branch in the country that's both had the idea and actually has put into place sponsorship for branch events, and that is a widely tiered package, everything from supporting teas and coffees all the way up to the big stuff, which costs a lot of money. And we're very privileged to have construction industry publications, and Sarah, that's over to my right. If you haven't spoken to Sarah, please do so, because we're talking about ladder and working at height safety tonight. All refers to lots of workplaces, but certainly construction. And Sarah and CIP can support you with a lot of equipment, a lot of practical tips and hints, and certainly free information that's out there. So please speak to her if you haven't already. She'll be around after the event. And just quickly covering some of the events that are coming up. We've got this next month, Legionella. We do have a sense of humour, so you can see a play on words for some of those events. We've got Legionella in June, occupational health monitoring, CDM and BIM, risk assessment, back to basics, because we probably all get it wrong from one time to another, things to include, things to leave out, and sometimes for the more complex risk assessments, things that we need to certainly consider to make sure the risk assessment is proper, suitable and sufficient, and mental health in October. November, we've got an event on contractors. Again, it's a play on words, pain in the rounds, because if you've had any deals with contractors, there's some bloody good ones out there, but I guess there's probably some not so good. So we're going to cover some of the good, bad and indifferent issues to do with managing contractors in November. The Christmas quiz and dinner, that's certainly something that's grown year by year. We put a lot of time and effort into that this year. Hopefully there's going to be a James Bond type event. We really have a very good venue for that. We have a great deal of fun, so hopefully you can attend that. Silica, Breath of Fresh Air in January, and BHM and Healthy Work by Heather Beach. If you're on LinkedIn, you know Heather Beach. She's coming on for February. So a quick point about these events is that these events are not something that the committee decide we want. It's again referring back to the membership. So it's a mix of what are the most important issues in health and safety at the minute based on statistics, and also what the membership want by the feedback forms. And we've certainly done some feedback to find out the sort of events that you would want to cover. So every single one of those events has really been filtered to make sure we give you the very best experience for your visits to IOSH Staffordshire. So I hope you look forward to those. So again, I cover a lot of media stuff. I just wanted to cover really our committee mailer is a really good way of how we can communicate with you to tell you about some of the events going on. Not only just branch events, but we've covered a level 2 fire safety course. We've got hopes to get a high level course in the future. In fact, we're hoping to cover mental health first aiding as a course, hugely subsidised. So by having the committee mailer, you'll be getting the first heads up really on some of the opportunities that you can get, which really does support and help pay back that membership that you've paid for with IOSH. LinkedIn, we've currently got 582 members, which is absolutely fantastic. People are starting to see that being part of our Staffordshire branch through LinkedIn is something that's very useful. Certainly the contacts that I've made over the last few years since I've been on LinkedIn have dramatically helped widen my horizons in health and safety, and also the people that I might need if I'm really stuck. So LinkedIn is growing hugely, both LinkedIn and our Staffordshire branch official page. So if you haven't been on that page, you just need to click on there, ask to be a member, and within a day or two you'll be accepted. There's lots of traffic goes back and forth there. If you're a Twitterer, tweeter, whatever you call it, we've got our hashtag there. Adam Reid, who can't be here tonight, manages that. We've got 307 followers. So again, for those people who want that immediate hit with social media and news, Twitter's there for you. And our YouTube page, we've got our IOSH Staffordshire branch. This is interesting because we did have an old YouTube channel which had an old peer review interview on there. That was very successful. Certainly we've had 2 chartered members who have cited that as being fundamentally helpful to gaining their chartered membership. So that speaks for itself. The sound wasn't very good, so we realised that we needed to do something very good and try and put something in place to do something more professional. And hopefully you're here last month, but if you weren't, after IOSH have finished with it, we are going to be able to publish that on our YouTube channel, and that was a professional and absolutely stage by stage recording, live recording that was just done here of a peer review interview. So if you've got any interest in moving to chartered, whether you want to be, whether that's the way you want to go, certainly in the next, probably the next month, I've been told June, that's going to be open to everybody to view, and that you can use that as a study tool towards your chartered membership. So again, I keep on selling the branch, but we have the idea of that. We've made that happen, and as I say, next month it's going to be realised. So, you know, the fantastic reason for coming to IOSH Staffordshire. So the last bit really here is, as you can see, we've got Dr Karen shown there in the picture. The nominations are open to join IOSH Council, so if you've got any wants to go in that direction, please access the IOSH website. You can see the nominations must be received by the 14th of June, so there's still time for those people that have got that interest. So IOSH Work 2022, that's on the IOSH website, and that's very important to just direct you simply to that website so you can see the 5-year focus that IOSH has got to move forwards and evolve. There's a no time to lose campaign. Again, the most hazardous, some of the most hazardous areas, not all of them of course, but some of them, diesel fumes, solar radiation, silica dust and asbestos on there. So if you've got those issues at work, and perhaps you haven't come along to an IOSH branch before, that's a really good resource to use that you can have a look at on the website, and you can use those in your workplace. So again, for your membership as an IOSH member, you get some really good support. And moving on to the last point here, we've got the raffle tonight. Again, as part of your coming on to this branch, you actually are entered into a free raffle. And we've got 2 raffles tonight. One very kindly given here by Construction Industry Publications, supported by Sarah. So we're going to have the first raffle, which is going to be CIP, and then the second one for the branch. So, who did it? Let's pick somebody. Steve, do you want to take out that bit?
Straight to black, right where you've got the...
There you go, drum roll. Number 91. Number 91, anybody got a ticket? Would you like to come on down?
Oh,
Wait,
come on down.
Round of applause, please. Apart from this, you can pick any. Oh, sorry. I beg your pardon. Beg your pardon. Thank you very much. So that's the prize kindly given by CIP, and I'd like to pick somebody else. This one is IOSH Staffordshire branch raffle ticket, the raffle prize. And it means that anybody with this ticket can pick any one of the prizes here. So a nice selection there. So ticket number 90.
Can you choose from lots of numbers for me tonight? There you go. Laptop, take the laptop.
Okay, it's got a lot of stuff out of the way that we need to cover for the branch. I just wanted to touch on, as a way of introduction for our speaker Karen, that looking on the HSC website today, I found out that in the year 2018, and this last year, 26% of all fatal injuries were as a result of falls from height, which is really quite a huge figure. 8% being non-fatal injuries, so 26% fatal, 8% non-fatal. And 40% of the injuries were actually resulted from the food and drink industry. 40%, that's a staggering amount, isn't it? And that's just in one industry of health and safety. So clearly, and in actual fact, 40% just comes from the use of ladders. That's a really important point to make. So it isn't mutes, it isn't telescopic systems, it isn't anything else, it's just the use of ladders. So 40% of injuries come from the use of ladders in the food and drink industry. So definitely there's a really good reason to cover this particular topic tonight. And on that basis, I'd like to hand over without any more time, please. To Dr Karen McDonnell, who's the Occupational Health Safety Policy Advisor for RoSPA. She's been here before, a couple of years ago, certainly a very good friend of the branch, and can I please ask you to give her a round of applause? Thank you.
Hi, I'm really delighted to be here this evening. You'll see the high tech at my age and eyesight never quite does what you expect it to do, so I'm working off a lectern. Absolutely delighted to be here, really delighted to be invited to participate in Branch. You're not supposed to have favourites, you know, but when I was part of the presidential team for a while. And don't worry about the change in hair colour, that's not what volunteering for IOSH does for you, it's just natural. It's a huge privilege to be back here. I'm absolutely delighted to be back here and to be talking to this topic, which is a topic that really never goes away, you know, this working from height, safe, staying alive, and working at height. And what I would like to do this evening is just give you a bit of background into why I'm working with a number of different agencies on this topic. What we'd say is you'll detect the accent is from north of the border. When we get really excited, we speak really fast. So if I start speaking too fast for you, somebody tell me to slow down, you know, that's really important. So essentially what I was wanting to do, there's a number of different threads to this piece of work that I'm involved in working for RoSPA, and there's an opportunity. If you're sitting there wondering what your opportunity is to get involved in this topic, and how you can help take things forward and make a change. There's a couple of different opportunities for you to engage. I'm going to talk about a number of different resources that are available, and they're freely available and they're free to download, and I can have the link sent out to you after the meeting, although it's all available through the amazing technology that is now the internet. So I think I'll just progress and take you through a whole approach to working at height, looking at the various impacts it can have on people, families, organisations. The first thing I was going to do was just give you some insight into a conversation that was had at Westminster Parliament on the 2nd of May. There's an all-party parliamentary group on working at height that's convened by Alison Thewlis MP, and she essentially has brought this through over the last 18 months, went through a consultation phase, and it was discussed. 60 organisations responded to the consultation. RoSPA was one of those. I'm happy to share the consultation response with you to let you know exactly what we're thinking about it and what the possible next steps could be. But it was discussed on the 2nd of May. The HSE have said that they will respond to that consultation document within the next 60 days. So I'm going to take you through the recommendations and possible next steps for the work of the all-parliamentary group, which is where the title Staying Alive comes from. Any of you who came this evening thinking that following the raffle you're going to do a bit of dancing, I'm sorry for the disappointment. The document is here, and it's hugely valuable in how we can start moving forward and reducing the number of people whose lives are blighted by falls from height. One of the comments made by one of the MPs at the meeting in the Parliament was insightful as far as me appreciating how they were looking at falls from height as a whole person concern. So from conservation work on Big Ben, which we've all seen the scaffolding on Big Ben, to pruning trees and cleaning windows, it's estimated that 1 million British businesses and 10 million British workers carry out tasks that for some involve work at height. So it's a huge challenge for us as a country. And if you're talking about, as we do now, we talk about personal sustainability, about you needing to be sustainable so you can have this fulfilled life and thrive, and your organisational sustainability also. We've got to be able to stop new people having what I would term as old accidents, because we know how to stop people falling from height, yet, as Chris has just identified, falls from ladders in the food and drink industry, which was also discussed at the debate in Parliament. It's quite staggering, you know. So it's only when you take perhaps time to stop and look at a particular topic long enough, you start to see how it all fits together, and how I always look at things like, you know, cogs of wheels. You know, the three elements that I'm going to talk to you about this evening, if we can just get them all to interlink slightly differently, the benefits to society are absolutely immense. And the ripple effect of getting it wrong is also horrendous, and that's essentially what one of the threads is that I'm going to review with you today. I wasn't putting off using the technology, but I'm going to use it now, you know, and it works, so that's really, really good. All down to Chris. Essentially, when I'm talking from a RoSPA perspective, we very much look at this whole person, whole life approach to prevention, because we're here as whole people today. You know, whether you've, I was having a conversation with colleagues over some food earlier, and I was having a laugh, you know, because I'm here as a sandwich. You know, I'm here as a sandwich because I've got a 26-year-old and a 24-year-old. My 24-year-old is a full-time joiner builder, and I have an 83-year-old dad who was in the building trade, and I went to visit him maybe 5-6 weeks ago, and he had made himself some new trestles to work from. Beautifully joiner made, you know, competition winning stuff, this high, wooden trestles that he just thought he might do a little bit of maintenance of his garage. And you have to watch how you engage with your elders, haven't you? And I was trying to explain to him, and he was trying to explain to me that all his life he'd worked in this way, and he'd worked a height, and it wasn't that high. You know, it's about this high. But Jason Anker fell from 10 feet. You know, so those are the challenges that we all bring to work, and I think the workplace needs to get better at understanding what you bring with you and what might be affecting how you feel and how you are in your work on any particular day. So we very much try to think of that when we're shaping our various policy positions. So we firmly believe that accidents and cases of occupational ill health don't need to happen, that safe and healthy work underpins success, and that freedom from harm is an important goal for society. That thread comes from some work that's been done. The Scottish Government has got what they call a fair work agenda, and it doesn't use the words health and safety, and don't jump out at you, but everybody gets that it's not fair that people don't return home from work unimpaired as a consequence of what they've done to earn a living on any given day. So we very much believe that freedom from harm is an important goal for society, and each and every one of us has got this responsibility to adopt a balanced approach to health, safety and risk. So these are the underpinning premises upon which our policy positions at RoSPA are developed, and essentially we have what I would call a sort of policy driven excellence model. We've got decided positions on various aspects of what we do as a profession in terms of occupational health and safety, what's acceptable, how things could be fine-tuned, and we use that then to have conversations with people. So the Get a Grip campaign that we're involved in at the moment is very much that type of approach. We decided that we want to stop new people having old accidents. We want to make people reflect back so they can move forward, which is essentially what the essence of the PPG work on working at height is. My focus is very much on the working age population, and the working age population is wide diverse now. You know, I endeavour not to talk about age bands because people work for very long periods of time for all sorts of different reasons, whether it's something that they wish to do, whether it's to set circumstances that means they're in work for longer. But as a culture, we've got to be better at recognising the needs of workers across their life course, because the good thing is we don't talk about age anymore. We talk about life course. Some of us are further across our life courses than others, you know, but we don't need to think about sort of age barriers. It's all about enabling people to have these fulfilled lives for as long as they would like to engage with the working environment. So that's where my focus is, and we very much look at the working age population as conduits for these types of messages, because the Get a Grip campaign and the Ladder Safety campaign, which underpins it, is all about people getting it right in work and then remembering to get it right at home as well. Because no matter where somebody falls off a ladder, gravity is gravity, and that's the challenge that we all face, and the ripple effect through families and communities is staggering. So how we decide how we're going to move forward, I have a sort of a very kind of regulatory craft approach. If any of you have read the book by, I think it's Malcolm Sparrow, Regulatory Craft, where you get the data, so Chris has said, these are the facts, so you get the data, you think, well, what are we going to do about this problem? You agree what the consensus of opinion is, you have some recommendations, conclusions to move forward on, and then you've really got to stick with it long enough until you make that difference. That's very much a discipline that we have from a RoSPA perspective, and our policy driving excellence model. I think it's really important that people recognise the importance of the workplace in maintaining people's functional capacity. The clues in the question, as they used to say on some game show, we've done the prices right. I can't remember what this one is, but the clues in the question, we're very much about prevention, and we're very much about promoting the workplace as an environment that can maintain people's functional capacity. So on the vertical axis there you'll see functional capacity, and along the bottom I call it chronologically giftedness now, because the Japanese, they've got this older culture, older age population, they've got a whole language they use to talk about and engage with their older population, and one of the words translated as chronologically gifted, and I thought that sounded good enough for me. So, and along the bottom axis you have obviously the life course. So you have the early life growth and development. I'm not sure if there's a pointer here, but it's fine because I probably wouldn't know how to use it. So we have the sort of moving towards going into employment. So if you say that maybe the first vertical dotted line there could be sort of school leavers going into employment, across the adult life, where the workplace, if the workplace is doing their job right and we're not harming people, people's functional capacity lasts longer, and that's what we need. We need people to be sustainable as individuals and maintain their independence and prevent disability, because rehabilitation is doable, but it's really hard. It's like pushing water uphill, so we're all about stopping it happening in the first place. We're very much about good work is good for you, but I was at an event recently, the Centre for Safety and Health Sustainability, and there was a speaker there from the CIPD, and you know how sometimes people say things you think, wow, that's absolutely right, and this chap said, we've done some research, and okay, here we go, and he said, good work's not always good every day. And I thought that's another thing to think about. You can have this job that you've always wanted, you can manage your workload, but on any given day, it might not just be, you might just not be working at optimum effect. And how do you go about engaging the workers? How do you go about creating these conditions for people to thrive? So essentially, how have we got to working with the Ladder Association, and we also work with IOSH on the No Time to Lose campaign, and as an IOSH ambassador for the No Time to Lose campaign, I'm really pleased to see the resources in the foyer there. But essentially our National Occupational Safety and Health Committee meets 3 times a year, and it's a very broad stakeholder network, and we decide what are the challenges that we're going to endeavour to tackle as a group. Most recently we've agreed that fatigue is a real challenge, and I'm a great believer in, if you don't know yourself, you just have to ask some people who do know. So I found some stuff and I thought there must be this wealth of information out there, and I've asked some key individuals, and there's just a little bit a tumbleweed coming through. There's not an awful lot of deciding positions on fatigue and how you manage fatigue. So that's definitely going to be one of our key issues going forward this year. So we look at being a catalyst for change, where we work together as this network. And the great thing is that IOSH is part of our national committee. So the beauty of the health and safety network in the UK and indeed in the wider world, you only need to know a couple hundred of the right people, and the potential is incredible, which is why I'm pleased to be speaking to you about the Get It Out campaign. We're very much about exploring solutions to emerging issues, so fatigue, and the other piece of work that we're doing is about, and it's not very snappy in title, but it's advice about advice. Somebody must have sat in the room to dream that title, for how many days, I don't know. But it came about because we're saying, well, how, if you need an ergonomist, how do you know you're buying the right ergonomist? If you're buying a physiotherapist, how do you know you're buying the right? So how do you signpost people to the right advice? So again, that's a piece of work that we're doing, so that it can be freely available, so people are signposted to people in their geography that might just be able to support them to get the health and safety right. So we look at exploring solutions, and then very much about monitoring performance, looking at data, carrying out some research and seeking people's opinion, which is really what this piece of work that I'm talking to you about this evening is about. I googled falls from height on Monday when I was looking at this, and I genuinely had prepared it before Chris chased me for it, honest. And but the first thing I thought about was how amazing it is to be able to find information quickly. Because when I was at university or college or wherever I was, you would find a textbook that you really wanted to read. It might be a bit niche because it's in your discipline, and you would fill in a form, and it would be an interlibrary road. I can't even say it, like a chocolate. Interlibrary road. And 6 weeks later, your book would arrive, and you'd get a bus, and off you'd go, and you'd collect your book, and they would say, the next person needs it in 4 days' time. No photocopiers, no nothing, so you have to sit and just cram as much as you possibly could in. So how things have changed, so Google is great. So essentially what I did was I had a look to see what the conversation that is talking about falls from height. And essentially we have falls from height, a retrospective analysis. We've got a critical review of the scientific literature linked to falls from height. We've got prevention and risk control effectiveness, all these different ways. So there's been lots of research done on falls from height and how to prevent them, and we're hopeful that the APPG work that is being done on our behalf through Westminster is something that's going to start being more definitive about a way forward. I mean, falls from height are absolutely a global challenge. I work with a number of organisations through our Awards Excellence Forum who are truly global in nature. And there's whether you think it's a continuum or not, but there's the threads of safety, health, occupational health and well-being, and everybody, you marry it up so it fits your organisation. But one of the topics that they could talk about on a global basis was falls. Because a fall, it's a fall, no matter where in the world that happens, they're using kind of the same equipment, and they can all engage with it, and they can take it forward on a global scale, because it definitely is a global challenge. It's very much about the transferable skills element also. You'll see in front of you there's these 4 images. The first is the National Accident Prevention Plan for England, safe and active at all ages, that RoSPA launched at the Westminster Parliament in October last year, and it's got a number of elements. It's a life course document, so it's about 0 to 5s, it's about the preschoolers, it's about people across the life course, it's people who are no longer in employment, and it's all about how do we start tackling some of these huge challenges that we as society have. So the National Accident Prevention Plan for England is based on England data. However, the outcomes, the topics, the challenges, the falls are all global issues. So there's something in there that everyone can engage with. There are 2 particular elements that I'll introduce you to later on that I'm hopeful that you might just think our organisation's doing something we'd really like to share on that. Because for me, this piece of work is about giving people their voice and giving organisations their voice. So it's about you saying what you're doing that's working really, really well and how you've cracked it. Or something that went not so well, but you want to share why it went wrong because you want others not to have to go through that particular piece. That's exactly why we have the linkages with the larger association, which go back about 18 months. It very much ties in. In fact, they helped us write the element of the NAP that relates to falls and falls prevention. Second only to road traffic fatalities on a global scale, so certainly a challenge for us. And they're interested in getting into the micro and sole traders through this particular route. So there's an array of information that's available in Pocket Card. I have to say I did show them in the No Time to Lose Pocket Card, and they decided it was a great idea to copy it, which is fantastic because it's just a great piece of work. You know, it goes in people's pockets, top pockets, you can share it widely, you can download it from the website, you can get copies sent out to you. And it's all about this personal and organisational story. The material's been downloaded about 8,000 times already. There's a whole pack of information that you can download and use in your organisations. So it's about getting an organisational story. The far picture there is Alison Thulis and Peter Bennett, who's an absolute tower or hub of energy in terms of this whole agenda. And on this side here, you see Jason Anker, who I think spoke last month before here. And I know Jason pretty well, having worked with him over a number of years now. And we wanted to get more information out there about the ripple effect. And we wanted to find more people who come forward and say, this happened to me and I want you to tell us their story. But people are hesitant to share that type of thing. However, when we approached Abby, his daughter, she has now recorded her stories. I've got that's recorded. I've appeared in a few different places with Abby now, and it's all a different way of getting people to engage with the topic that stops you in your tracks and think, wow, the impact never stops. The ripples might get smaller as time progresses, but the impact of something is on a family, an organisation, a community is devastating. So very much about bringing those threads together this evening. So there's lots of threads. I was having a bit of fun with this, you know, because you know when you're at a presentation, people start to talk about golden threads, you know. Or shall we fly up the flagpole and see how it flutters? You know, all these different things. Or peeling an onion, and there's another layer. But there was an interesting conversation on LinkedIn over the weekend about authenticity and resilience, and one of our colleagues, Heather Leach, had said, you know, she'd said about, you know, it's like just taking that further layer off of the onion. You know, every time we think we understand what authenticity and resilience is all about, somebody says something different to you, and you've got to peel the onion again. So I kind of feel we're like that with working at height and the safe use of ladders. And these threads that run through it all. So this is a piece of work that allows different opportunities for people to engage across the piece of work, and hopefully we can help move things on to a successful conclusion. And then the final picture there is very much about where are you looking at this from. I don't know if any of you watched Father Ted, you know, but when you look out the window and there's one of these Frisian cows in the field, and Ted says, is it far away, is it very small or is it far away? Or what's that effect, you know? And it's about where are you looking at this from? Are you down here looking up, or are you at the top looking down and falls from height? So how are we going to get all these insights together to have this whole piece of work? So insights into the work of the APPG, insights into the Get a Grip campaign, and insights into the National Accident Prevention Plan are all hopefully what's going to come through this evening. Alison Thulis, you can actually go on Parliament TV if you want to watch the debate. I've got a paper copy of the debate, but it is available on Parliament TV. You can go and you can watch it, you can see how the conversation went, and it's fascinating to see how we've managed to get this back onto the sort of political agenda. So the number one cause of deaths in the workplace alluded to by Chris, and this is the stark reality of it. You know, that we've got 10 million people in the UK who work at height, and yet the decision makers have not yet placed us at the top of the policy agenda. So that's where Alison starts from every time she speaks. So that's where she starts from. And the APPG report was published in February 2019, and I'm going to give you an insight into the recommendations in a few moments. The Get a Grip campaign was launched in September last year. It's a 4-phase campaign, and very much about increasing awareness in the UK, where, if I'm recalling correctly, we sell about 5 million ladders a year. I thought that was a staggering statistic. You know, when you think of the population that we have, and we sell 5 million ladders, and then I had an interesting conversation with people, well, where do you store your ladder at home? Because you use them infrequently. They're at the back of the shed, behind your skis, you know, behind the push bike, behind the lawnmower, and they're just chucked in a corner, and you bring them out and you would use them and potentially risk your life, you know. So real challenges there about ladder use. The campaign's all about reducing the likelihood and number of accidents caused as a result of falls from height when using ladders. And very much around about what happens in your workplace or home when you turn away. So what are people doing just to get that last bit of work done when it's clocking off time on a Friday and think, oh, well, you know what, let's just hang back and get that done. I don't want to come and do that Monday morning, and might do it a little bit too quickly, or nobody's looking, and they just do something that puts their lives and reputation at risk. And finally, the piece about the ripple effect on families, which definitely never lessens over time. So essentially, again, Alison was very clear in saying that there should be no question at all or doubt over whether workers return home safely to families each evening, and this crucial human aspect of the issue. There's a lot of conversation now about human capital and bringing the best out in your workforce, and it's a term, again, it's almost like talking about functional capacity. It's not maybe usual OSH conversation pieces, you know, how about human capital, the skills that people bring, the skills that you can extend, how you can engage more widely, all those elements. And I'm happy to share the discussion papers that have come from the meeting in Paris that was hosted by IOSH. But it's very much about looking at the people that we have, because we do have an ageing declining population globally. There is huge competition to get people to come into your workplace to work for you, and anyone who has done this for as long as me will remember the HSE used to have a Happy, Healthy and Here programme, and that's very much what we should be about now, is making sure that we create sustainable environments for people in order that they can sustain themselves over a period of time and remain happy, healthy and here in our workplaces. So Alison also talked about sort of when we used to get public information films on the television. You know, this is a life course thing, guys. So you just have to go with it. If none of you remember, push your floor and put a log on it. You know, these sort of public health messages that you used to get on the television, and it was simple health and safety related. You know, always hold the handrail. You know, those types of messages. And she's saying, you know, she recalled a campaign from the early 60s, which the effects of campaign can be great. You know, simple messages that people remember, and hopefully the Get a Grip campaign is going to have that kind of traction where you think, well, right enough, your family's a ladder, I need to kind of get a grip. If you're needing to send an email to any of your colleagues and needing attention, I sent an email about the campaign to one of my colleagues last week, and it just said, get a grip. And she phoned me up, and she was hysterical because she answered it straight away because she wanted why I wanted her to get a grip. So it also gains traction in lots of different ways with your colleagues. So the responses to the all-parliamentary party group, there were 60 respondents, and some of the key issues that they drew out, and it's great minds think alike, because I also picked out the conversation that was had, that was about extending some of the initiatives that we already have into other industrial aspects. So here are the recommendations from the APPG. The introduction of an enhanced reporting without additional burden through RIDOR. So just collecting a little bit more information on what went wrong in that fall. What type of work was being undertaken, had training being provided, all the things that you really need to know, because if a RoSPA key issue is about learning from safety failure. You can only really learn from safety failure if you sit down and you analyse and listen to everybody's aspect on it in order to prevent it happening again. So there's very much the recommendation relating to enhanced reporting, the appointment of an independent body that allows confidential, enhanced and digital reporting of all near misses and accidents that don't require or qualify for RIDDOR reporting. And for me, I'm fairly certain there's been a recent change on our, and Abby agreed to tell her story about what it has been like for her to have a dad in a wheelchair as a consequence of a fall from height. So what I'd like to do just now is just let you listen to the effect that Abby's dad's accident has had on her family, and I would guarantee you that you will want to take this to your workplaces. Did I not do the technology? You will want to take this to your workplaces, and you will want to give people 9 minutes to hear this, because it's that type of change that it can affect. Yeah.
My dad is my best friend. I know other people say that, but he is my best friend. He's the first person I ring in the morning, say goodnight to. If I have any problems, I go to him. I know he's always going to be there, as he always has done, really. I've never known actually anyone as strong and as brave as he is, really. When I was 3 years old, my dad had a fall from height, fell off a ladder at work, doing something he shouldn't have been doing. And he's spent the rest of his life since in a wheelchair. He didn't fall very high, he only fell 10 feet. So to a lot of people, they think, oh, they don't actually think that's, in relative terms, that's not a very big height to fall, but it had a dramatic impact on Dad, and here we are today. As a child, I can remember visiting Dad in and out of hospital and missing him, but not really understanding what was really happening. And to me, Dad had always been in a wheelchair, because I can't really remember him not being. So all my holidays I used to go with my grandparents. So Dad, just because it was harder for him getting on a plane and getting there, obviously with all his medical, what he needed to take with him and how he sort of survived day to day. So he missed out on all those memories that we had as children. And even the little things of learning to ride a bike and playing football and anything like that. Dad, we didn't do that with Dad, we did it with our close family, really. I think it definitely affected me when I was young. I was very shy, I was quite a quiet child. Not that sociable. When I was on holiday, I used to get told off because I would just sort of sit with Dad, didn't want to go and play. And I think that was quite a lot of the emotional effect it obviously had on me indirectly. But it's had an emotional effect on everyone. I think everyone still breaks down if they fully think about it, or if Dad still has personal problems.
January 3rd, 1993, I was 24 years old, I was married, I had 2 children. At the time I was working as a roofing labourer on a construction site. I wasn't a roofer by trade, and I was asked up a ladder that was untied. Lack of confidence about speaking up, I'm not sure, but I went up the ladder, and actually when I came down the ladder, still on-footed, I slipped and I fell. As my accident was 26 years ago, I think things were a lot different back then. The awareness to safety and equipment available. But these accidents are starting today, and it's not just the individual it affects, it's also the family.
I always have to think about Dad's chair and his situation. So even little things like parents' evening when I was at school, I had to liaise with the teachers to be always on the ground level of the floor, because obviously you couldn't get up the stairs. And schools when I was at school, none of them were adapted. Obviously they're better now, but I remember preparing for my wedding day. We had to make sure the venue was suitable for Dad. He could get around all the venue, and then him having to walk me down the aisle. we didn't really know how it was going to work. It's one of the biggest moments in any dad's life, I think, and daughter's. That's a big part of the day. And he had to wheel me down the aisle. So we made it work, but he was wheeling on my dress quite a lot of the time. But we held it together. And then later that night, we had Ceilidh dancing, which is that Scottish high-tempo dancing. But he couldn't be part of that. He had to sit at the side and watch all the family and close friends do that. So in our wedding album, he's not actually part of that moment, which is really upsetting, but that's something we all have to emotionally deal with all the time. It's always tough. Like, I find it quite hard to talk about it most of the time because I just get so upset. In terms of care for my dad, he's quite strong-willed and independent, so he never really wanted nurses or anyone to help out, which I think would have been advised, but us as a family have always done that for him, so picking up his prescriptions, making sure he's got everything medically, making sure all our houses are adapted, so ramps to the house. So obviously it all costs money and it's not always the fastest process.
For years I was angry, but today it's more of guilt, realising the effect I've had on my family and my friends through something I did at work.
I have a young daughter, she's just turned 2. She's the best thing that's ever happened to me. But straight away, with that situation, it brings it back down to like everything that's happened and still happening. Just literally everyday stuff. So I still like to go on nights out with my friends. Lucky enough we've got grandparents to help out, but I find it hard that I can't ask my dad to look after her. So it's always my mum or my other half's parents, and it's just due to his balance in his chair. I know he can't pick her up and he can't do the things that I need him to do to be able to care for her. And even when we come round and she runs to her granddad and she wants him to pick her up and he can't, it upsets me when I know my dad's upset. So in the summer we went to the beach for the day with my parents-in-law and my other half, and we went on the beach, but Dad had to sit on the promenade and watch us on the beach with her other granddad, and I don't know how I don't get upset. I think I don't want to upset him, so I sort of bottle it up. But deep down, it's heartbreaking because it's just, it's only going to get worse. She's going to grow up and have a prom and a wedding day as same, and he's going to have to do it again and again. Anybody that uses ladders or work from height, they need to just get a grip with ladder safety. They need to do it for themselves firstly, but it's for us at home. Like, if you don't have the strength or bravery or whatever it is just to say to your supervisor or your colleague, I'm not happy with this, I'm not doing it, then you're willing to risk your health, your well-being, your life even. But actually it's your friends and family at home that have to pick up the pieces. We're the ones that have to live with it and help you. So, I'm nearly 29 and I'm still emotionally affected by something that happened 26 years ago.